All right, welcome everybody to the second episode of the Rose Experience. I am lucky and graced to be joined by a long lost friend of mine, a man that I grew up with by the name of Greg Danton. How's it going, Greg?
It's going really good. As good as it
It's
gets.
going.
Out
Yeah,
the
so
window.
we were catching up off the air because the truth is Greg and I go back a long, long way. And when we say a long, long way, we mean like almost 40 years, like 35 years.
Right, yeah. I mean, when did we get to Brantford? Yeah, I think I was 4 when I started school, so
Yeah.
it would be
Well,
36 years.
unless you had a problem and they left you behind. Yeah, you
Yeah, that's
definitely be
possible.
four.
They give smush some of the records there just to let me.
Yeah,
They want me to get a
you
leg
got
up on.
connections, you know somebody, you can do it.
I think
But
that's
yeah,
always been my like. I always wanted to go back to school, just like Billy Madison. I think everyone did that.
back to school.
Just to crush things for a while.
Yeah, just recompensing all my errors. Sure,
Right. Build
I
the
feel you.
confidence and then
But Greg and I, we grew up together, and actually, literally neighbors, right across
Yeah.
the street from each other. We fought over marbles.
yeah.
Our
Oh,
first
marbles are huge.
And why we're doing this is video games, more or less. I mean, listen, like I'll talk to anybody. I just started, it doesn't matter. But I mean, we've reconnected. I reconnected with your brother, and he's like, you should talk to Greg. So I mean, I've always I wanted to. So here we are. But you know, from like 6, 7, 8 years old, we were hanging out marbles and videos. Like SEGA Master System was our groundwork, right?
Yeah. Oh man, I have such good memories of that. Like that clunky rectangular system. Getting
Maroonish and black thing.
Yeah, and the ridiculous like cartridges and the maroon whatever checkerboard background and like the script of a Sega game.
It's crazy. Like from a design standpoint, you think of the Sega Master System, and it was, I mean, as plain as it was kind of brilliant design, because literally every game had like that graph paper
right
case, and then the cartridge was a maroon thing with the title and same sort of thing. Like you'd never get away with that today.
Right. And I don't know if that was a North American thing, because I know that some of the like the Japanese releases of the box art would be, way more colorful all over the place. I don't think they adhered to the same checkerboard graph paper thing.
North America was so boring.
Right.
Like Japan would just have these incredible box arts, like art and shit, and then ours is just like, here it is. It's so uniform and corporate.
Yeah. Yeah, it must have been something with someone must have passed something in a board meeting.
Well, you read that book, Console Wars. You ever read that?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, it's all about the old Nintendo and Sega wars. It's more or less picks up where I forget his name. The gentleman took up Sega of America, and his job was to bring it. It kind of starts on the onset of the Genesis, but it does touch on the Master System days.
Yeah.
And his job was to bring the Genesis and relaunch it and make it successful in North America. And the fights he had with Sega of Japan. And I mean, he was completely responsible for Sonic and all that stuff and the design decisions. You should really read it. I don't know if you read a lot of books. It's hard to have time. I mean, you're a father with 2 kids. It's hard to find time for anything. But
I barely have time to put proper pants on these days.
Tell me about it.
Are
you wearing pants now? Because I wouldn't know.
No, I have 3 different types of jogging pants, and I just cycle through those lately.
Just recycle them. It's funny because I woke up this morning, I was wearing a sweatshirt for the 3rd time. My wife's like, "Okay, you got to take that off. It's right." Same thing. Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. I know. Well, the only marker I've been at, because I've been dropping my kid off at school in the morning, but then like I don't know, people I think are noticing. I've been wearing the same camouflage pants
They
for like
figured you out, Greg.
2 weeks in a row. They're like, oh man. I don't know, but there's just all that is just out the window. Like it doesn't. Yeah, who cares? No one cares anymore.
So
But
why
yeah,
don't you introduce? I mean, we got to do this somewhat formal, so people introduce yourself,
right.
who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Right. Okay. Well, as we said, my name's Greg Danton. I'm a concept artist working in the movie and video game industry. Currently, I'm a concept artist for Microsoft at the Coalition, working on. I don't know if I can say what I'm working on currently, but I had worked on the
Is
Gears
it
of War
Perfect Dark?
franchise. What's that?
Is it Perfect Dark?
No.
Okay.
It's like I mean, I've shipped Gears 5 and Gears
Yes.
4. I was the lead concept artist on Gears 4, but yeah, I wasn't. I was just a senior artist on Gears 5. Sadly, Gears 5 I think looks a lot better. Anyways, that had nothing really to do with me, or at least that's what I'll say. But yeah, I went to school for classical animation at Sheridan, which growing up everyone said that was the place to be.
Was
to
it?
me, I kind of just figured out that I can't animate, and I don't like it at all. But it did teach me a lot of fundamentals. Like it was all drawing every single day, and it had a good history to like storytelling and stuff like that. Even though I'm not an animator at all, but some of the foundation I still carry through today. But yeah, so my current position is at Microsoft, but I was a freelance artist there for a while, doing a number of different things. I worked at Ubisoft, Blizzard. I worked on Die Hard 6. I know that's everyone's favorite movie. I worked on the sequel to 300.
Okay, yeah.
A couple other things.
I like that film.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see it. I did like I had
no?
to do.
There's a really good sex scene with Eva Green.
Oh really?
Was into that?
Oh yeah, was it like a smoky?
Like it was like really, it was quite graphic.
Right. Thankfully, I didn't have to work on.
It reminded me of the time where your dad vetted the Van Damme movie Double Impact. There was a sex scene in us to make sure if we could watch that. He's like,
You remember that?
I don't know. I do. Honestly, I remember the dumbest shit, Greg. Like, I'm surprised. I told my wife I'm an early candidate for Alzheimer's. I'll probably have it when I'm 65. But for now, I just, every once in a while, I remember this dumb, useless stuff from my childhood and stuff like that.
That's awesome, man. I have such an awesome, like, nostalgia for those Van Damme movies.
Oh, yeah. Like, we watched them, like, Lionheart, Double Impact, Bloodsport, and Kickboxer were just on, like, repeat.
Yeah.
Van Damme was basically our
Santa Claus,
like our god at that point.
Yeah, I could not get enough of Bloodsport, and especially like because it was like hard to obtain like a video or whatever. Like you didn't have pay-per-view. It was like you had to go to the video store. It was rated R, so like you couldn't just go rent it. So like I remember seeing Bloodsport at VideoFlix, and it was on the shelf, and then I'm like, holy shit. What is that? It must be violent. It says Bloodsport on it, and like it had this cool karate guy pose.
And he's doing like a side kick and his spinning kick.
Right.
That's like the poster, right?
Right. I think if you actually did that, you'd break all your ankle bones, like that spinning.
I don't know, man. Like that guy's like 60 years old, and I still see him doing some of that stuff.
Right.
Impressive.
Who was he? He was training Uriah Faber and Cody Garbrandt. I don't know if you follow MMA.
I do. Yeah.
But there was some incident where he like accidentally kicked him in the face. Van Damme kicked Garbrandt in the face.
Okay.
And he like kind of had like a nervous breakdown in front of Cody Garbrandt. Like
because he felt bad.
Yeah, he felt bad, and like there's a whole thing. I think there's an interview on Joe Rogan.
Okay. Because I listened to the Rogan podcast. Did he have Van Damme on? or
He
was
had
it like
Cody
a
Garbrandt on.
Oh yeah, Cody on. Okay.
Yeah, and he was saying it doesn't look good for Van Damme. It was like, it was hearing, when you meet your hero or whatever, you're like,
Sure. Never meet your heroes. That's
Right.
the line, right?
Right. And not that I met him, but you hear an anecdote or a story like that, you're like, it takes him down a peg. I kind of wish I'd never heard that. But yeah, the exchange was terrible. And like, it was just, made him look kind of like a boob.
It's never going to ruin the memory for me. Van Damme movies for me are like, that's Michael Meg Graceland. I can never get enough.
Right. Predator.
There's like a new Bloodsport coming out, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea about it. I saw like a trailer on YouTube, and I thought it was like a stupid fan made trailer where it was just some made up movie. No, but it's like an actual real thing.
There's funding. That's good.
Yes, there's funding. Are you involved? I don't know.
No. I'll reach out to someone. Maybe I can.
Sure.
Well, did you ever read that? So, the real Frank Dukes was actually like 6'4".
So there's conflicting reports on that. Like, remember at the end of Bloodsport, there's he holds these records for fastest knockout and shit.
Right.
But then like, there's other things saying like this guy lied about it, that the Kumite doesn't even exist. Everyone's out there like, what the fuck is this? Is this like an interview about video games, or is this about the Kumite? But yeah, like, who cares? You know what? As far as I'm concerned, Frank Dukes is a superhero. Okay.
He deserves his own video game.
He deserves give him his flowers. He deserves it.
Right. But yeah, no, not to like go off on a crazy movie nostalgic tangent, but like, yeah, even the like Sega games and like that era was awesome. It was like a magical video game time. Even when you like got like a cartridge or you got a box, there was something really fun about that. Like, people will go out and buy a cartridge form now because they want that like experience of going out and buying a physical copy. But we just kind of got that all wrapped up for free in the era that we grew up in. And even that, like, I think you guys bought Phantasy Star, and it was like $110 or something like that.
It was expensive.
It was like more because there's more data in it.
Yeah, it had more megs. It had a save state and more megs.
It was heavier or something. But I remember that being such a cool thing. I don't even know if we ever bought it. I don't know if we. I remember.
Well, I bought it. But when one of us bought something, we all owned it. Like, that was just kind of the way it was.
We'd trade it.
And it's like, when I talked to your brother, for everyone out there, like, I interviewed Greg's brother Steve on my last episode. He's the creator of Two Ton Studios and On to the End. But like, those games, it's like not only were they our foundation. I have this theory about Sega, like, Master System. Bear with me for a sec. It's like, because everyone back then, it's funny because in our bubble, we just were what we were, but Nintendo was the thing, right? Everyone played the NES.
Yeah.
Like, Sega Master System was such a small thing in the grand scheme of things. So I actually think we were extremely lucky for our parents to actually get us that, because I think the NES people, like, the Sega Master System is a complete blind spot for them.
Right.
Because if you were playing the Nintendo, you didn't play anything else.
Yeah.
Like, us being Sega kids, we knew what that was. We loved it. But Nintendo was an inevitable lateral step for us to eventually jump into. We experienced all that. Right? So I just think, like, us being Sega kids, it allowed us to appreciate that, but also see the Nintendo stuff. Whereas I don't think Nintendo people actually played the Sega games in the early stage.
That's true. Yeah, I just kind of always thought it was like a 50-50 neck and neck race. I didn't really know that Nintendo was just crushing Sega at that point.
And it really was. Like, you look back on the sales and stuff like that.
Oh.
It wasn't even close. Like, the Sega Master System was a very niche thing.
Yeah. I mean, the thing for me was, like, the graphics, or whatever that term was. But that was a big thing for why we got Sega. I think it had more colors or something that it could
Maybe.
I don't know what the hardware of it, but I always remember like a lot of Nintendo games were like pretty washed out. Like they I think they were on a different type of hardware setup. So some of the Sega games just looked better. I think there was like 1/10 of the content though. Looking back on it,
Oh,
like,
for sure. Like the library was quite limited comparably. Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember that added to like the fuel of like the scarcity of like, oh, there's a new Nintendo or a new Sega game out, but like didn't even matter what it was. It was like, oh, it's new, so let's go play it and let's buy it. I remember.
Sure. And it's funny, like, if Nintendo was so popular, yet you and I being neighbors, we were both Sega kids.
Right, I know.
'Cause
That's
we were-
actually pretty rare.
In the grand scheme of things, in the West, which was all of North America, it was relatively rare. Like, I mean, I think the total sales of the Sega Master System was under 20 million.
Oh, was it really? Eh?
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's globally.
Right.
I mean, maybe 23 million, something like that. Like, I'm not some,
Right.
historian of sales, but it was quite low.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and that was odd because like I don't know who got it first or what started the chain reaction because Casey, I don't know if you remember Casey, he had a Sega. It was like it like dictated who we hung out with. It was like, you're a Sega kid, you're a Nintendo kid. I don't know about you. I don't know. Like it's
I don't know, but yeah, like I don't know. We must have like Brantford must have been like it's like a Sega town. And looking back, yeah,
it probably was some like problem with shipping when we were kids, and they
Maybe.
just didn't get
We
any Nintendos in the Zellers
we had the
next to
peasant
it.
shipping lines. Yeah.
But yeah,
I remember when I got my first Sega, it came with Gangster Town, it came with Choplifter. And I tried to change the cartridge from Choplifter to Gangster Town. My dad got mad at me because he thought, he's like, enough is enough for the first night. Just too much excitement for one night.
oh man, Gangster Town. Oh, that's
With the phaser gun. You remember that?
right. That was Choplifter.
But that was our roots.
Yeah.
Just talking to your brother, how he used to lock us out, or we would push him to play the hard games like Zillion 2. We would lock him in the room and see if he could finish it and not disturb him.
Man, I have a crazy story of Casey playing Black Belt. I don't know if you remember that
Okay,
game.
yes, yeah.
So like, for whatever reason, like I don't know, he must have been like
I remember
7.
real pause. I remember Casey had the crazy claw, like he played controllers like he played like a flute,
right.
like a weirdo.
It's because he was left-handed.
Again, Greg, like, why do I remember this shit? What's wrong with me?
That's a really good like mental. I don't know. Yeah, sugar cube type of thing. Yeah, because he was left-handed, so
Okay.
he held it like this.
Yeah, like
and it was
overhand,
so
like
weird, right? It
Yeah.
was so bizarre. But yeah, so he was playing Black Belt, and then like you were talking about, like locking my brother in the room, like he was doing really well, and we were like all cheering him on, and then he's like, okay, I need to take a break. He's like, my eyes are watering. So his eyes are like starting to stream down his face. And he's like, I can't do it. I can't play anymore. And he's like, hold on. And my brother's like, hold on. Let me get you some glasses. And the only glasses we could find is my grandma's like big frilly pink shaded,
oh man,
like, I don't know, flowers all over the side. And then like he puts them on. He's like, okay, that's better. And you can still see tears streaming down his face, but he's still playing. He got pretty far. I don't know if he cleared it, but like it was just like the sacrifices you did. It was such a epic thing to try to defeat some of those games. And there
were no save states. There were no rest modes. Just, like you said, with your brother, like you turn the TV off and hope mom and dad didn't see the green light on and just pull the cord.
Right.
Because electricity is very expensive, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. I remember that with like Sim City. Like the secret was just to leave it on all night or for like weeks at a time and just let your economy build or whatever, turn off all the disasters and like let all your money build up. Like, oh, cool, I got 2 million Sim but you just started a house fire in your basement because it's been on for like 3.5 weeks.
Absolutely. So Greg and I, to start with his art career, we used to draw together.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was never as good as you, and it used to bother the shit out of me.
Really?
And I would ask you for like hints on how to draw fucking hands and feet. You can swear on this podcast if you'd like.
Okay, cool.
Hands and feet, because I always sucked at them. But I loved art, and I always loved drawing like the things that we did. And it's crazy that you took this thing that we did as like literally little kids and made it into a career.
Yeah. I remember that.
Because we're so sorry to pause you. I mean to interrupt, because I mean, we kind of lost the natural scope of things. Is once high school hits, you lose touch. That happens. Were you still like super into art in high school?
I wasn't. Education wise, I was a terrible student. Like I was getting in trouble all the time. I wasn't doing anything. I took one art class in grade 10 and I got 36% in the class, like for a final grade. But like, not to throw any teachers under the bus, but like the teacher was a science teacher and he was like taking it as an extra thing to like teach students. And you could tell that like he didn't really care and I didn't really care about the assignments or whatever. I wasn't really progressing. And that was kind of the last thing I did in high school until my last year, OAC year. A friend of mine was in a art class, and he's like, "Oh man, I got a hand in this art assignment. It's due after lunch." I'm like, "Oh, give me that thing. I can draw that for you." And I drew this tree with a birdhouse or some ridiculous thing, and then like it was in the cafeteria, and like I had not really thought about it at all. But then like I was drawing this tree, and I did it really, really quick. And then there was a bunch of people like, "Oh, wow, that's really good. Like, why don't you do that?" Or like, I just never really thought of it as like you said, like a career or something you could do. I just wasn't really exposed to like, oh, I can actually do this. I thought it was just something I did on.
So that whole time from like, grade 9 on, did you still doodle and draw in your part time, or you just leave it alone more or less?
Really, kind of left it alone. I don't really have any memory from.
Because that's crazy. 9. Like most guys, I find art seems to form, like the formative years are in that high school time. Like you can love it as a kid, but you really find it in high school. Like you found like all the artists were doing art on the fucking walls and stuff like that. And and doing things. It's crazy that you could leave something like that and then just pick it up and still be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, in grade school, I stuck with that up until grade 8, and I got the art award for grade elementary school. Or whatever, but I never. When I got to high school, I just never did anything with it until that afternoon. And
I was a shitty student too. You don't have to feel bad. That was terrible.
But like, after that, I signed up for 4 art classes in my last year, and I took a tech class or whatever. And that was really it. After, I had really good art teachers once I got into St. John's. That my final year. I want to see if I can remember their names. Like Mrs. DeStefano, Mrs. McDonald. Mrs. DeStefano was awesome. She was pretty instrumental in like saving my career as from being a delinquent high school dropout. I was doing terrible, like doing awful. But she kind of recognized, okay, this guy's got some talent. Mrs. McDonald gave me this assignment to draw like the school calendar. And that was like, okay, I can do this. And like people really like this. And she likes it. And then Mrs. DeStefano kept like encouraging me to do more stuff and encouraged me to apply for Sheridan, classical animation.
That's really important, to have like, because, in school, some people are just like, you go through the motions. It's not cool to apply yourself or to chase something.
Right.
But when you get something like a figure that you kind of respect and they push you in a certain direction, it really matters.
Oh man,
And it
I
sounds
think,
like it changed a lot of things for you.
yeah. I mean, I kind of stumbled into that backwards, but like, truthfully, yeah, you need to have an option to know what you could do. You need to be
Mhm.
exposed to like your future self. If you don't have that, and so many kids don't, I know tons of people that just, I know they never found their thing to kind of go after, which is sad, but like, you need that. You need to have that, like, oh, I can do this. Oh, that's an option for me, or I can follow this path, and then you can see a route to get there. That was really, really eye-opening. Yeah, that was yeah, pretty important for me. I don't think I don't know what I would be doing. But yeah, things kind of snowballed from there. I got into Sheridan. That was also all of this
So
stuff
what was your course at Sheridan? Was it a visual arts?
it was classical animation.
Classical animation. Okay.
So at the time, that was like a very difficult program to get into.
Yeah,
remember-
it was. For anyone out there, like, we live in Canada. Well, yeah, we live in Canada. Sheridan is like the top animation development art school in at least Southern Ontario anyway.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing known as like, oh, that's difficult. But I remember lots of guidance counselors saying like, oh, well, don't apply there because you won't get in. Truthfully,
Isn't that bullshit?
yeah, it is.
Like, I remember talking to like counselors back then about stuff exactly like that. And it's like, going back to your previous point, it's like you had someone believe in you. But like, there's so many people out there growing up, or whoever you are out there, they could be like, you do a thing and you're like, you have a knack for it. But sometimes you don't let your ego let you feel like you're actually good at it until someone else that's good at it tells you you're good.
validates you. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Validation.
Yeah.
Until then, you're like, who am I to just fucking do this thing? You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy it, sure, but like, this can never be something. But then someone tells you that it can be, and you're like, you know what? Actually, they're right.
Right. I think. I mean, that's half of the battle. Not to steal G.I. Joe's quote, but like,
Steal away.
it's like you need to have that kind of belief in yourself to be able to make that leap. You got to be able to, like, whenever you're learning something new, everyone is terrible. They're always crappy. Yeah, you might not get into this school, but it's still worth trying. It's still worth
Sure.
like pursuing that and going after that. But like, yeah, there was just, I think through my earlier career in high school, I was not regarded as anyone that was going to do anything. I thought that, not that I'm on this lofty position now, but like, I really think that most teachers just did not want me in their class because I was kind of a shit disturber.
It was just cocaine and hookers for Greg.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to kick it, but like, it's like,
so you go on to Sheridan, you're surprised to get in, parents are excited,
yeah.
and then what happens?
So yeah, even that was like a bumpy ride. My first year, just the class and the wave I was with, they were a really talented group, and I think that was my first time like out of the house. But it wasn't a program where you go to school and you have fun. Like, people were talking about, oh, I get to go to college, I'm free, I can go party, I can go do all this stuff. Like, my first year was like a massive wake-up call that, like, okay, I think I'm really good. There's also 75 other kids that are just as good as me.
Just
and they're
as good.
or at least,
And honestly, that's pretty important. Like that checks your ego, that one that built you up.
right.
And then you're like, you know what? If I'm gonna fucking do this and I'm here to do this, like,
Yeah.
I better like focus in.
So like, it was good to be exposed to that, but like, I don't think I was even mature enough to like handle that level of commitment. Like, I still wanted to go out and party and drink and do goofy stuff but there was no time for that in that course.
Mm-hmm.
It was insanely stressful. Tons of work. There's like notorious, stories of people sleeping at their desks. There was a teacher that if you didn't do well, he would staple a Harvey's resume to your work, and he'd just tell you to go get a job at Harvey's because that's all you.
That's really good.
Yeah, but it was like heartbreaking because
Like,
you would
in
go in there.
retrospect, that's good, but I can't imagine being a student.
Oh, and so there's, you'd go through these assignments, and they're all difficult. Nothing was like a breeze. And all the teachers had really good reputations. All the students had good reputations for being like great artists. So there was all of that kind of working with you, that you had to compete and you had to get better and you had to practice constantly. I remember fucking reading anatomy books until fucking I was like purple in the face, like learning the muscle structures, learning all the bones. There was a German artist, I think his name was like Gottfried Bombs or something like that, but the way he articulated skeletal structures was very geometric and it was really easy to read. And so every student wanted that book, and only one kid had this book. And we were all clamoring over how to get this book out of his hands or whatever. We could never do it. But getting back to it, like, yeah, I don't think I was personally ready the first year.
It's hard because, like, what are you, 19?
Yeah, I think I was 19. I was probably 18 officially when I started because I was born in September. But it was I probably should have done a ramp up easier course before I jumped into there. I think my skill level was up to par, but I kind of wanted...
I get it. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I wanted to ramp. I should have ramped into it. But my first year, yeah, that was tough. I was super hard on myself. That was difficult getting through that. My first year, yeah, I dropped out. And then, like, that was a terrible time because I came back. My parents had separated and we had gone back to London. So after I got out of school, we went back there. But I reapplied again the next year with a new kind of mindset, and I went back into the animation course. And this
So
year,
you went
I think
from classical. So same course?
Same course. I did this exact same course. And all the kids that were in the course, like that I was with, were a year ahead of me when I went in the second year. But I just was so much more mentally prepared, and I just felt much more comfortable. And I realized what it was I was getting myself into. So I kind of ramped myself up to get ready for this kind of wave of work. And yeah, like even then, I was not a good animator, but I liked drawing, and everyone. I think I was known as like the perspective guy back then. Like, I don't know if you know what perspective, like 3-point perspective.
So describe it.
Like, perspective is like drawing a horizon line, 2 dots, and then like that is an artistic way to like replicate reality. It's like,
and then fill it in with detail.
Right, you draw lines to like, say a building or a cube.
Mm-hmm.
Being known as a perspective guy, I don't really know how to describe it, but I knew how to draw.
No, like I get what you mean, and you had an Instagram account with your art that you haven't really touched for a bit, but that was the only way I could find you.
Yeah, so my main work is on ArtStation.
Okay, yeah,
but yeah, I've been so busy since maybe the last 5 years of my life. There's so much work. There's so much. I just thought it was so rare to get a freelance contract. Maybe 7 years ago, it's like, I'd like to start doing freelance, but it's hard to get these contracts. And I just kind of like changed the way I approach my work and with the way I presented it. And I actually started presenting my work, which was a thing you kind of got to get over. Like if you want to get exposure, you got to show yourself to the world. You have to get it out there in whatever channel that is. If it's Instagram or ArtStation or one of the other 6 billion other platforms there is now, but like Twitter is also a big one now. But like, yeah, there's just so much work coming in. I I just find it hard to have free time to do anything for myself lately, which is a good and bad thing. It's kind of
Sure.
like careful what you
I
wish
mean, everything
for.
is a gift and a curse.
Right.
So you go through Sheridan,
Yeah.
you go through your lumps, trial by fire, you graduate.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, and then what's the next step for you?
So then I took a course at Seneca for 3D art. Because at the time when I was leaving, 2D animation wasn't what it used to be. It used to be that like DreamWorks and Disney would show up at your graduation and give you a
Pick of the litter, yeah.
right, like come work for whatever Don Bluth or Disney, and that was, unless I was sold on what was Sheridan. But that era had kind of come and gone right when it was probably already almost gone when I was starting, but it was really gone when I graduated. So I had to pick up something else, which was a 3D course. So because video games were becoming more popular and like more viable avenues for employment. So I took a 3D gaming environment art. I guess it wasn't environment art. It was just 3D gaming art, something like that. Yeah, and I did that. I was like the art director for the games project.
Okay. At Seneca?
At Seneca, like Seneca York or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
And that was a year course, but that was also like, I knew I needed to, like, this year I have to get a job right out of school, and I gotta like get out of wherever the heck I am. I knew that like there was a lot of pressure to get that in order. Like I'd spent 3 years at Sheridan. I think I spent like $38,000, and I had nothing to show for it really, because there was no more classical animation jobs type of thing. At least for me, there was flash jobs, but not. So taking that gaming course though, it's like, okay, well, there's jobs out there. There's cool places I would want to work at, and I was aware of those places to get a job at after that. So anyways, yeah, that was a difficult course, but it trained me a lot. Some of the stuff I used in that course I still use today, even though concept art is traditional with Photoshop, but the 3D base that I learned there was really, really good. So out of there, I got a job at Silicon Knights.
Okay, so that's your first place.
Yeah, first place. Well, I had an internship.
So did you? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, an internship at, God, I can't remember the name of the place. They made a Toon Shade racing game. Fuck, I can't remember. Anyways, internship there, but then I got my first job was Silicon Knights in St. Catharines, Ontario, which was it was good. It was like a great first job. Yeah, I really wanted to go there because the art director used to work at Disney, and I was like, okay, I got to go there because I could probably learn something from them. And the concept crew there was pretty big. I think I had like 7 people, and they were all good artists. Some of them I still talk to today.
So what were you working when they took you on? What was your first game you were working on? So
the first game was this is kind of an infamous game. It's called Too Human, but they lost some sort of court battle where they had to destroy every copy distributed ever made, and you couldn't publicly say it was worked on or something like that. Like, it was some crazy thing because they sued Epic for using their engine when I guess the judge did not see it that way. The judge
they did. Yeah, they completely disagreed. Yeah, I don't know all the nuances, but Silicon Knights is infamous for that. I was actually leading you into. I didn't know, but I wanted to ask. Yeah.
I mean, it was a great first job. But it was
any Canadian artist. Silicon Knights. I've talked to a couple people. Silicon Knights seems to be where 50% ended up.
Yeah, it was a pretty big catch there for a while. It was either you worked for Silicon Knights, maybe a Rockstar, which was in Oakville, or Ubisoft. One was in Montreal. A lot of my friends from school went to Ubisoft, and then the other batch of us went to Silicon Knights. I was the first one out of my class to go to Silicon Knights, and then they came to our class. I don't know, Dennis Dyack, he's a decently famous guy. He gave a pitch, but he really sold us on the whole culture of that stuff, and I have great memories of that place. It was kind of a crazy place, and it's unfortunate that they, it didn't, all that stuff kind of happened. I don't even know the full ramifications of all the things that went through, but yeah, but after I think like 3 years of that place, I went to Radical. I think I can say this. I was working on Scarface 2. So the thing, I don't know if anyone's ever seen Scarface, but he doesn't survive. But in our game, he did. So like, it was
say hello to my little friend
again.
Number 2.
But that's what got me out of Ontario.
So where was Radical based out
of? Vancouver.
Okay, so that brings you to the West Coast.
Yeah, and that was kind of a crazy thing to leave everything.
It's exciting though.
I still can't believe I actually did that, because I remember sitting at my desk in St. Catharines and being like, I got to get out of here, and I just was looking for jobs anywhere, just far away from where I was. I'm like, oh, this has an environment art position. I'll just apply. And I applied one morning, and then I got a response in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right. Well, I guess I'll follow through with this.
Why not?
Right. But like, so that was it was okay. But after 6 months there, the company folded, or at least they said, 2 of the projects are getting canceled. Scarface, I can understand why they did it, but like Scarface 2 was being canceled. And so I was out of a job.
So when you're taking these jobs, are you on contract work at this point?
So the first one was like a full-time. Second, like Radical was full-time. After Radical, I went to Relic, which was a really great place.
So when you leave Silicon Knights and Radical, would they have to pay you severance and things like that?
Radical did. Okay. Silicon Knights, I just quit, so they didn't give me severance. But
okay, I'm just trying to paint a picture for any like the 6 people that will listen to this. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that was a great thing, getting severance for Radical, because I got a job immediately after I left Radical. So, and they also gave me my severance. So I was like, oh wow, I should get fired more often. I don't know, that'd be kind of cool.
Why not? Yeah.
So working at Relic, and Relic had a really good reputation. They just shipped Company of Heroes, and they were working on Space Marine, which was like it was kind of like a competitor to Gears of War, but it just never was.
Which is ironic, because you ended up working on Gears of War.
Right. Yeah, and I always had lots of respect for Gears of War. It was kind of like a when it first came out, I mean, it was a pretty good franchise. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere, but it was made.
Well, Gears of War was huge. I mean, along with Halo, that's really what launched Xbox entirely, right?
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of, figuring out where that came from, like, I think it was made in South Carolina. But you can kind of tell, like, the roots of that were, like, based from that. So they had kind of like a good groundwork for inspiration for why they made Gears of War. Anyways, but Relic was pretty good. What did I work on? Space Marine, Company of Heroes, a couple other things.
So you're doing strictly concept art at this point.
All concept art, yeah. I had a brief stint as an environment artist at Silicon Knights. That's how I got in there. But after I got into the front door, I really wanted to do concept art, so I think after about 6 months, I switched over to the concept art team. But I had to apply, and I had to redo my portfolio as drawings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
so explain for people, like, concept art is obviously art, but what's the process? You do the art based on instructions?
kinda. I mean, it's kind of like they have an art director or a narrative designer will have like a script or an idea, and they kind of want you to visualize what they are thinking.
So they give you buzzwords and concepts, and it's
Right.
up to you to, like, a character, and then you fill the gaps from there.
Yeah, like it's my job to like create images that are inspirational either for the team or for them or for publishers that are looking at like, oh, this is their idea, and like there's a picture showing what that is.
Like, give me so a narrative designer. You don't even have to give me like a super accurate example, because I know you don't want to put anyone under the bus. But okay, you're working wherever. Someone comes in, a narrative designer, and they're like, okay, Greg, like, we're thinking desert area, character A, B, so, like, how does it work? And then they give you this idea, and they're like, okay, give me an image in what, 2-3 days, 5 days?
Yeah, it's normally like the general process is to give them some thumbnails, which is just rough little sketches that are as big as your thumbnail, but it's normally about that big or whatever. So yeah, generally you'll have like a kickoff meeting, and they'll describe some sort of setting, what the time of day is, who the characters are, what they're kind of looking for. They may provide some reference, like here's some Google search images that we found.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, come back to us with what you got out of this meeting and shoot it back to us. And yeah, that's normally how it goes. Normally it's like lately at least, they don't really want to get in the way. They have a rough idea, they want to keep it very vague, and then they want you to fill in all the gaps visually.
And do you prefer that?
Yeah, it's much easier. I mean, it just
I would imagine so.
Yeah, like there's other things of like, if it's really micromanaging and they know exactly what they want, that's often more difficult because it's their vision.
You're trying to realize their perception on something that they already have.
Right.
Like, you're just trying to fill that gap. Whereas, I mean, you're the artist.
Right.
Give me the idea, give me the characters, like, give me the inspiration, sort of, and I'll fill that gap for you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so like the difficulty with like, having something that's someone has in their mind very, very clearly is that, if they could actually articulate it to their full potential, you wouldn't need a concept artist because they could articulate it.
Sure.
So that's where the problem comes in with like, you're trying to hit a target that only they have in their own internal mind. It's difficult, but like certain people are better at articulating what they want and knowing where an idea is rough enough that they can just let go and let you fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Or let the artist take over. That's the healthiest kind of way. It's kind of like, being a coach or something like that. Like, yes, you
and
can.
it's also the difference between a good manager and a bad manager.
Right. Well, like, yeah, you need to be able to let your employee fill in the gaps on their own. You need to be able to like let your artist do that. Yeah, you'll get more buy-in from like the artist. You'll get a better result. Anyways, yeah. So
from Relic, you go on. How do you get to? I mean, yeah, like streamline me into where you are now.
Yeah. So from Relic, I went to a job fair just with a couple of friends, and there was a whole bunch of movie people there, VFX.
Yep.
I didn't really know of that as an option, but I just went and I brought my portfolio, and a lot of people were interested in my work and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, maybe I can do this. Again, yeah, I kind of stumbled through all this kind of stuff, but
it's funny because like most guys are like Greg, like I only knew you as a kid more or less, but it seems just like you're like, yeah, I guess they're into it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, why not? I mean, I didn't know if they'd be, but I'm kind of here, and they like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always kind of, I don't know. I
You
never
were
really.
kind of like the king of chill.
Yeah, I never really. I don't like. I never really put that much onus on my own work. I never. I guess I'm doing well now, so I'm like. But I never. I hate saying that. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Don't be ashamed of your success.
But like, so I was always like, it was difficult for me to show my stuff. So whenever someone else liked it, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I can do this. So yeah, I got exposed to that, and from Relic, I left to work at a VFX place called Scanline, which was cool. I worked on some really cool things, some pitches for. I think I'm allowed to say it. I'll say a Marvel movie. A couple other things that were.
What, did it never come to fruition?
I left after about 8 months. Some of them went on to be completed. I was working on something.
So like you did concept art for a wide range of things.
Yeah, it was a multitude.
Okay, so you don't know if all of them came. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, some did, some didn't. But like, yeah, that was a good place. But it was like, man, that was a difficult job. Like there were some people. I have a story of someone working there, and it was his birthday. And then everyone's like, "Oh, happy birthday!" And he's like, "Yeah, my wife and kids are visiting from California." And I'm like, "Oh, well, where, like, why don't you go see them?" He's like, "Oh, I got to work on this shot."
Yeah.
And so like he was there all weekend working on this VFX shot, and his family had flown out to see him. I think they only saw him for like, I don't know, lunchtime, and that was it. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this in-house VFX stuff. It's not worth the price of all of that. So after that, I went to Microsoft, and the first project there was Ranger. That got canceled.
Yeah.
But after Ranger, we got Gears of War, and then been
So
on
Gears
and
of War
off
4 is your first Microsoft project.
Yeah, the first one that went all the way through, did it from start to finish, and then Gears of War 5, start to finish. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now.
So on Gears of War 4, what was your job title?
I was the lead concept artist.
Lead concept artist on Gears of War 4.
Yeah, and that was kind of shared between me, a good friend of mine, Charles. Yeah, and then in Gears of War 5, I was just a senior concept artist. I was the lead for a bit, but I did not like leading. It's a lot of meetings, a lot of like less drawing. Truthfully, I don't know. The majority of I actually like talking to people, but I could be a mute and not.
You and me both. It's funny because like I sit here and I like doing this, but other than this, I don't really want to fucking talk to people. Like I just can't stand it. Like guys call me and I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of odd why that is, but even it gets compounded by my career and what I have to do because I put on headphones, I listen to some music for like 8 hours, and then I'm just working, sitting in front of a computer, drawing pictures. But I've been doing that for like now that's like 16 years almost.
Yeah.
I've been at Microsoft for 10 years, on and off. And in between there, like, yeah, I did some movie stuff.
So I don't know how much you can talk about it, but Steve said you worked on Star Wars for a bit.
Right. So that's kind of confidential, but like...
Okay. Maybe off camera I can grill you on it, but...
Right, sure. Yeah, like, yeah, that was a side project that I did.
Now, has that released?
No.
Okay.
So that's still kind of being worked on. But I've since moved on to something else. But like, yeah. So on and off for that. And just since about 5 years ago, it's just been like, I always have had at least 2 jobs and sometimes 3 jobs, or at least contracts. So it's either an Ubisoft project or what did I work on with Ubisoft? Rainbow Six something. Truthfully, I rarely pay attention to the titles I'm really working on lately. And it's just the content of what I get to do. And I worked on a thing for Warner Brothers, Monolith Games.
Yep.
Some of these projects, basically because concept art is the initial phase of things, and it's a lot of the work, it just never gets released because a lot of the projects either get canceled or it doesn't go anywhere, or like...
or it becomes something else entirely.
Right. Once production kicks in and the 3D artists get a hold of it and that goes off on a mind of its own, it can change completely from where the concept was. So my career lately is mainly in like pitch work and in first kind of inspirational type of images, but that's mainly for the beginning of projects, or pitch work, which was taking an idea and presenting it to a bunch of executives to go get greenlit or something like that. So a lot of the stuff I've been working on is never made it, or maybe it has, or it's just completely changed. And
I get it. So you got involved. Your brother, you and him worked together. At Danton Studios for a bit. Where does that fit in?
So we used to work pretty closely through my career at Radical. We would always have kind of ideas and we'd collaborate on. We made a game, Ninja Boy.
Yes, he explained it to me, and when I heard Ninja Boy, I automatically thought Kung Fu Kid.
Right, exactly.
And I asked him, like, where'd you get that inspiration? It was kind of different, but that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, and that was during the wave of the whole iPhone, putting games on iPhone. So we were like, okay, we got to get a game on here to see, maybe we can retire after this. But, the reality of it was...
We got close, but it didn't,
Yeah, it's not quite. So, like, but we were always kind of collaborating, trying to make games. Sadly, I kind of like my career was going into a more higher fidelity direction. Like Steve's stuff was a bit more, it was just more like side-scrolly, platformy. And truthfully, I love playing those games. I prefer playing side-scroller or top-down. But my career is more like bigger budget things, like AAA games. Like
it makes sense. I mean, if you're going to make it big in today's space, films or games, it's got to gravitate to that.
Yeah. So
unless you're like leading, I suppose you could be the art lead and wear 5 other hats at an indie studio, so to speak. But.
Right. Yeah. So like career path wise, we stopped kind of collaborating, and he kind of took that on with his wife now, and they're kind of making independent games on their own, and I kind of went more into this, being a sole artist illustrator type of thing. But I still always want to get back to that. I think once financially maybe I don't have to work anymore, or I don't need money or something like that. I don't know when the heck that day is going to be, but
what is that? You never know, right?
Right. But I'd love to just make like a side-scrolly type game. It's just difficult.
Like a passion project.
Right. I kind of relate it to just building a car in the garage type of thing, but it's a video game. But one day we'll get back to that. I don't know when.
But you and your brother are close.
Yeah, really close. One of the main reasons I came out to BC was he was in Seattle at the time, and I was like, okay, that'll be cool. I can go visit Steve in Seattle, and can like BC's 2 hours away or whatever. I was going to get a job, or I picked Relic over 343 Studios. Okay. The art director there was Ken.
What would 343 be working on then?
At that time, they were just getting Halo.
Okay, so Bungie had left by then.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. What was that? I think it was Halo. That was the first 343 product, and I was talking to the art director, and then I just decided like, oh no, I'm going to go to Relic instead, because I was going to stay in Vancouver.
And that was because you wanted to be near Steve.
Right. Well, actually, going to 343 would have got me right into Seattle. So I probably would have gotten closer. I think for the reason I stayed in Vancouver was a girl I was dating or something like that. But
It happens.
man, it happens. I don't remember who it was. So I don't know.
Doesn't matter. You're married now.
Right. That's the only thing that matters.
So you're married. Where did you meet your wife? I mean, we don't have to get into details.
Yeah, sure. No, it's a funny story. I lived in a apartment complex. Still to this day, it was the coolest apartment complex I've lived in. It had a squash court, had a gym. There was a basketball court, like a step away from my house. It was awesome. But yeah, I met my wife one day after going to the bar, and we went into the lobby, and the elevator was broken. And there were all these people just milling about the lobby because we couldn't get upstairs. The guy wouldn't let us go up the elevator. So my friend was super drunk, started like harassing this girl, I don't know, saying all these obnoxious things. And then I'm like, oh wait, that's that girl from the gym. And so I stepped in and like whatever, my friend stopped harassing her, but then I started to talk to her. Blah 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 blah. The elevator finally gets fixed, and she comes up the elevator with us, and then she lives on our floor. She's my actual next door neighbor. So that was my first meeting of my future wife. But it was because the elevator broke. I didn't even know that she was there. But yeah, the rest is...
So you're in BC then?
BC then, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Met her in BC.
So how long you guys been married?
I don't know. I'll say 8 years. 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny because I just celebrated my 6th, and I couldn't. Same reaction, Greg. Same reaction. It happens like, how long you married? I have no fucking idea.
Well,
like, please don't let my wife hear this because she'll kill me.
Right. Well, truthfully, like Shirley's, she's not all that sentimental about things like that, like birthdays, Christmas. So that's great because I'm pretty forgetful.
Yeah.
Like it was our anniversary on the 7th. I remember that.
Congratulations.
Right, but like December. So like but I completely forgot, and she like shows up and she gives me this gift, and I'm like, oh,
holy shit.
Is it our anniversary?
Here's some concept art, baby.
I know. I just drew this dragon. It's for you.
Yeah, here you go. He's breathing a heart.
Oh, you didn't want a dragon? I thought you wanted a dragon.
Sorry, honey. Silly me. I don't know what you want.
Right. So yeah, but yeah, but that life's been good. Yeah, 2 kids. We had our second kid, Alora, March 14th, Pi Day, but that was like right when the pandemic was like, we didn't know what it was, if it was going to eat your brain or whatever.
Sure. That's when we had our guy, Cruz. I mean, same kind of thing. I mean, since I've learned my lesson, I don't give a shit about it now.
Right.
I just, back then, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. But
Right.
it was like silver lining. I get to spend a ton of time with my baby.
Right. Looking back at that now, I actually, because Shirley spent so much time with the baby, we took Emily out of daycare, but I just spent a ton of time with my oldest kid, Emily.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we just had an awesome time. I would have been working away in an office. We did so much stupid stuff.
Like, I don't mean it, but like, to me, everyone has these horror stories. I almost kind of feel guilty about it. But the truth is, with everything that's happened, it's been nothing but good for me.
Right.
Like, it's sad to say, but like financially, personally, I mean, we had a baby during it, and it's allowed me to spend so much time. I've seen him throughout his first year and a half of his life.
Yeah. I mean, it's super important to get that type of exposure.
Because otherwise, if it didn't happen, I definitely wouldn't have been able to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have some friends who have kids, and they all kind of speak like me, like with great respect for kids and really love it. But there's other people that don't have kids. But I always try to tell them I'm a really big, not a fan, supporter, fan of kids. So I just think it's
big fan of kids, you know.
Right. No, I think that's what you're supposed to do. Like after having kids,
I'm with you. Listen, y'all do what you want. If you don't want to have kids, I get it. There's a myriad reasons not to, but I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah.
Because otherwise, what the fuck are we doing?
Right. Yeah. You know, people are always like, "Oh, what's the meaning?"
Like otherwise,
of life?
I'm gonna just drink this and that's it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah. Like, there's all people always have this question, like, "What's the meaning of life?" Like, I think you can make a pretty good argument is to have kids and to like enjoy that time of your life.
Well, I mean, if you're talking scientifically and evolutionarily, the literal meaning of life is to procreate. I mean, what is every other species meaning to do? It is that. Unfortunately, I mean, if we're going to get philosophical here, I mean, I suppose we think on a higher plane and we can problem solve and everything. I've read the book Sapiens. I don't know if you have.
I have.
It's just, it's a fantastic book, actually. But it's like our higher thought processes, and I mean, I guess it allows us the luxury to think of things like this. I mean, I guess the meaning of life could mean different things for different people. But when you granulate it down, what is it about?
Right.
It's about passing. How do we achieve immortality, Greg? Maybe I've had a couple bourbons. You know what? Maybe I'm talking a little shit. But
no, I think it's true.
What does it boil down to? How do we achieve immortality? Passing our genes and our memories down to our children. That's how we live forever.
Not to get too, like, I don't know. I always think of, like, these types of things. People are always, striving for, like, the fountain of life and, going into the past and the future or whatever. I think of having kids as time traveling. Now, that sounds crazy.
I agree with you.
Because, like,
we relive,
pass on through that.
And then we see the future of.
Right. And it's actually designed in a very great way. Because, like, you get to have your time, and then they get to have their time. And
that's right.
If you live to, like, 650, think of all the problems that would cause. Like, no one would get out of the way. It would always be, like, I don't know, everyone would be, I don't know, clamoring at each other. I don't know. I just think that the way that that chapter kind of unfolds is for a very specific reason, and it's designed that way through evolution and stuff like that to be that way. I just I try not to rant too much about my kids, but truthfully, my experience with them has been great, and it's.
Please don't hesitate, because like I'm a mutant. All I do is talk about my kid, and I don't even mean to.
Yeah.
Like,
it's hard not to.
My wife all the time, she's like, "You're obsessed," and I don't even know I'm doing it. Like, and you know what? I don't give a shit. Like, because if you don't want to hear about what I'm talking about, I guess I don't really want to talk to you. Like, because that's what's important to me. Yeah. But as an artist, do you make art about your children?
No. So whatever reason, I'm a pretty happy person, but like all my art tends to be darker and
because so like I think about you, and I think about the things we used to draw, comic-based things, war-based scenarios and monster-based scenarios. So like, how would you typify your motivation for art?
I mean, I think actually my artwork generally, it comes from a pretty dark place, like aesthetically. Like, I just kind of like that stuff, like Warhammer and like Diablo. Like, there's a place where I can comfortably create things in that framework or that setting. Like, I feel comfortable executing things like that. If it gets too, like, I don't know, subtle or colorful or me sensitive, I don't have a well to draw upon to create stuff. I can always think of some sort of tool video that I could probably make or Ramstein type of video that I could probably make. But I'm not that person really. But inspiration wise, I just find it's like a never ending well of like, okay, I can draw something dark and creepy.
Yeah.
So that's probably certain people move on from that and they, evolve to something a bit more broad. But I don't know. One of the reasons for my kind of decent success or whatever was just doing what I like to do. And like, I think that that's really important. Like, yes, you can try to expand in all these different things and cater to all these different types of artwork.
I agree with you. I'm a firm believer. People create what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
I mean, art, writing, video, music, doesn't matter what the fuck it is. You're into it or you're not into it. Like, I can't tell you to draw a flower landscape if you want to draw a troll bashing someone's fucking face in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you're gonna do with that latter scenario is gonna be far more interesting than the flower. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. You get
like, and where does it come from? Like, because we read a ton of comics, we played a ton of video games. Like, is that really where it came from?
Maybe a bit.
Like, did
I really like
reading fantasy stuff? Is that where it came from, or is it all here?
Actually, so a pretty good contributor to why I draw the stuff was reading those Dungeons and Dragons monster compendiums.
Man, we invested so much money. The 1, 2, 3, up to 5, and they all were color coded: red, blue, green, black.
Right.
Remember they came in those cardboard boxes?
Oh yeah, I loved that. I loved
like that's funny. Like Dungeons and Dragons has this whole following now.
Yeah.
But it was super fucking nerdy when we were doing it.
Oh God, yeah. Was it ever? Like it was like embarrassing to publicly talk about
playing fucking Dungeons and Dragons back then.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember. You couldn't even really say it. Like I was afraid to say
Nerd!
I know. But the artwork in that was always
really incredible.
Yeah. Easton? What's his name?
Oh, is that the name of the artist?
Easley is one of them. I remember he used to always draw dragons and it was all pretty dark stuff. Like
medieval fantasy based art. Yeah. And I thought it was incredible too. Cause I mean, man, like again, I was never as good as you, but we would sit down for hours and just draw shit.
Yeah, I remember that. That was I remember it sitting at like the coffee table downstairs and like
that, or even outside in your parents' backyard on their outdoor table. Like we would just draw out there.
Right. I remember that. And that was a great motivator for me.
If you think back, was that like your first like art like class motivation type thing?
I think so. I don't remember another. I never did that with another friend ever. Actually, truthfully, to this day, I don't really do that
because we did that quite a bit.
Yeah, I do remember having like we'd have like some picture and you have like a Jason mask on and you'd like
I mean, or we'd take like an X-Men comic and draw Colossus or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I remember that was Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah, X-Men comics we were big into.
Yeah, McFarlane, like when he came out with Spider-Man and stuff like that. Yeah, I remember trying to mimic that. So between that and Dungeons and Dragons and my competitions with you, I think the thing wasn't necessarily like mean-spirited as a competition when we were drawing. It would be enjoyable because I remember I would draw something and you would say like, oh, that's cool. And then you would draw something and I'm like, oh, that's neat. It was a very like, it wasn't mean-spirited.
I was also older than you. So like, you know, like if you were better than me, that means something because I was older than you. And you were definitely better than me.
Oh, I wish I had some of those drawings, but like,
yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's just anyone out there, like if you're drawing, like whether it's peers or whatever, just keep doing it. Like doodle, draw, however you can. That really is how you get good at anything you're passionate about, really.
Oh, I think it just, I've taught some courses, of course, 3D Edge, but a lot of students are always artists generally have so much self-doubt about themselves, much
Yeah.
like a lot of people. But I
It
think
is true. Like you find like it's like they can be incredible. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter what is musicians or videographers or artists. They can be incredible, but they're just like I mean, no one cares about what I'm doing, and they're just like
Right.
weird about it.
Right. I mean, I still struggle with that. Like I
Half the battle is just getting over that.
right. Yeah. You got to be comfortable with exposing what your work is, being able to take feedback, but
Mhm.
take it like constructively. Like take
Like not a personal offense.
right, like understand what someone maybe is better is saying to you, try to digest it and to get better. Like you have to actively try to improve on what your deficit is. Like if
Mhm.
someone is or no one's reacting to your work, don't blame the system like, oh, the system's rigged or this does it, it's for X, Y, and Z. Try to like distill what feedback you can get out of that. Like, well, why isn't my work being recognized? Why am I not getting like accolades or why am I not getting praise for certain work? And you got to like sit and suffer through it and just continually get better. But like, it takes a very, very long time. I think that whatever that Malcolm Gladwell book of 10,000 hours of practicing stuff,
Mhm.
I think it's pretty accurate. You got to just suffer through it. And
If you're in the creative field, you have to take 1,000 no's before you get a yes.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
there are a few lucky fews that get yeses right away,
Yeah.
and that's impeccable talent along with timing and luck. But it, if you want to be an actor, you want to be a musician, you want to be an artist, you want to be anything in that creative field, people are going to tell you you suck
Right.
until they tell you you don't suck.
Right.
For
right.
there's 1,000 guys who were told they suck and now are multimillionaires.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Like that's just the way it is. You got to have a granite skin, and it's funny because creative people sometimes are the most self-conscious people,
yeah.
but you got to have the hardest outer shell.
Right, right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. What's like that Jordan quote? Like I failed over and over in my life,
Yeah,
and that is why I
but
succeed.
only that is why I succeed.
Yeah, I mean, it's true with a lot of things, but especially in a creative field. Like you just kind of have to keep grinding through, take what you can from your losses, and improve on that. I mean, it sounds cliche or whatever,
It
but
does sound cliche, but it is true.
you learn more from your losses than you do from your successes. If you
And that's why I talk with Steve. Like the most successful the people in the world have failed. Never trust a man that's never failed.
oh yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So you're working. What you're working. Is there like a white whale for you? Is there something like you would love to work on that you haven't got the chance to? I mean, now it seems like you're still relatively young. I mean, I'm sure you don't feel young with 2 kids. You're 42.
Right.
You definitely feel old and achy. I know I do. I feel like I have no energy all the time, but it's like your career is still on the accelerator. Like, what would you like to do? What are you aiming for? Are you still doing the Greg Danton thing? I'll just take it where it fucking comes.
Kind of. I used to really want to be working for film. Really always wanted to work on like a Ridley Scott movie or like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Like Dune was a big one, but I had an option to do that.
Did you?
But I didn't take it. It was just too much. I was like, it wasn't like laid at my feet by the director. It was through a VFX company, but I would potentially have gotten the opportunity to maybe work on that. But I had gotten comfortable enough with like I actually like drawing in my specific little bubble, and that used to be a really big inspiration, but it really no longer is. I think my new inspiration, I would like to make like a board game where I illustrate all of the things.
Yeah.
There's a really good artist named Adrian Smith. They just released a board game, but like I'm a big fan of his work. But like, I would like.
Send me the link. I'll attach it in the description if you want.
Let's see here.
We'll just do it after if you want.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that after. But yeah, Yeah, they made a board game, but there's something very simplistic about the parameters of it. Like, I would be in control of the artwork, and it's basically just that on a card or that on a on a book or something like that. So the production side of it is more compartmentalized. So there's not a whole 3D team. There's not 16
Yeah.
producers telling you what to do. It's like me and whatever goofy game I come up with. I've always, being a concept artist, like you work with game designers and stuff like that quite a bit. So I've always liked that side of things, but I don't really want to step on a game designer's toes. I just really, at the end of the day, just want to draw pictures. But I would like to have some sort of future where I get to control the gameplay.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a natural offshoot, Greg. Like, I mean, you're the artistic person,
right?
And people are giving you ideas, but it's only common sense that you would have ideas of your own.
Right.
You're like, I mean, this is what I like. This seems cool. I can make this into this. Why not pursue it?
Right. Yeah, and the production side of things is seemingly getting a bit, you can be an independent game maker. You can have a small team of
And like I talked with Steve, it's easier than ever. I mean, it's easier than ever to make something. I suppose it's more difficult than ever to be noticed because there is more people in it because of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're good at what you do, like you're good at what you do, games, art, whatever.
Yeah.
And if you put that out there on those vehicles that are out there, you're going to get noticed.
I mean, yeah, 100%. And is it going to be tough? Yes. Are you going to be successful? Maybe not. I mean, but it's worth trying. It's worth pursuing that. I don't know.
Like I freelanced. I wrote freelance for 3 years.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I wrote. My work ended up being on some of the biggest outlets in the world, video game wise.
Right.
And it was never something like I really chased, but I loved it because I love video games. And
right.
I had some of my stuff sent back, like guys shit on it with red marks.
Right,
Like it just, I thought I wrote like the Magnus Opus.
Right.
And guys sent it back and it was like, this is no good. I'm like, oh my God, like, how can I make this better? It's part and parcel of it, right? Like
right.
a creative person has to enable, you have to have like either self-editing or you got to have someone that can tell you about it. Right. And you have to be able to take criticism.
Right. I found that my stuff improved the most when I could self-edit. I used to always show my work to other people, like, oh, what do you think? And they'd give their feedback, and then I'd show it to someone else, and they'd give a different thing of feedback. But I really started to make big gains with that stuff when I could self-assess what are other people doing that's making that successful, and what am I not doing, and how can I improve that? And it was a lot of things where like, okay, I need to go read up on this. I need to learn what composition really is. I need to know how to stage lighting correctly. How do you use lighting to like enhance a picture? How do you actually compose things? There's so much stuff. My wife is in academia. She's been doing that, but she always kind of thinks that like art is subjective. But maybe in an art gallery,
it can be.
Right.
But I also, good art is good art.
Right. And there's, you can build a house out of cardboard, but that doesn't make you like a carpenter, right? Like,
yes.
There's degrees of like, what are you trying to evoke and what are you trying to build? So like, there's so many fundamentals and principles that aren't necessarily rules, but it does create a foundation for like, what is good artwork or what is successful artwork. And it's a kind of a funny thing that these principles help build towards a desirable end effect, and universally that gets appreciated on some sort of scale. So you have to follow some sort of rules and some sort of structure, and most successful artists do that in some capacity. It's not just all whimsical throwing paint against a canvas type of thing.
But it has to start somewhere.
It has to start
somewhere. So let's relate this back to video games. Are you still playing video games? Like, I know time is slim 2 kids, you have your profession, but do you play?
So the last game I played was Hades.
Okay, fantastic game. I'm a massive Supergiant fan.
Yeah. Oh, they're amazing. The
Everything
artist.
you talk about artistic talent.
Oh,
Their style permeates everything they do, from audio to video, to visual, and then on.
yeah. The art style, especially with Hades. Yeah, I thought I wanted to play the game just because of the art. It's done by one. God, I'm forgetting her name. Female concept artist, but she does the artwork to such a degree that like they'll give her a rectangle and say like, okay, we'll just make something out of this, and then she draws literally right on top of it, and it goes into the game. Yeah, that was probably the last game I played. I used to always play Nuclear Throne.
Yes, yeah.
But what was it before that? Bloodborne I played. Hollow Knight.
I love Hollow Knight. Me and your brother talked about that. He knows the Team Cherry guys.
Yeah. But I don't really like first-person shooters. I don't really like.
You and me both.
I'm not a really big cinematic guy. Like, even though I need to actually make.
That's
pictures.
your work.
Right, but I don't really like those types of games. Like I like
they're very overly produced, right?
Right. A lot of people like these like cinematic experiences, which is cool. I just don't like playing it. I'd rather watch a movie. Like, but anyways, they all have their place, and it's keeping me employed. So like, but like, yeah, I think I played Nuclear Throne more than almost any of those other games. Like, and that's just like a roguelike. It's like Gauntlet. But
yes,
it's pretty difficult. It's not crazy difficult, but I like those kind of punishing. I really wish my brother made Unto the End roguelike. I wish he did that. Yeah, I think he could have gotten. I don't know.
It's funny. Like it's amazing. Like these are all creative, conceptual design decisions. And I actually kind of grilled your brother when we talked, and I was like, or the regrets and what people held to the fire. And, he told me about some of the shit he took for, like, whether it was the rule, like, dodging back, where you took double damage if guys hit you and things like that. And
right.
Creatively, I understand you make decisions for a reason, but it's hard to take feedback to adapt to that.
Oh, man. Yeah, he worked his butt off on that. Like, yeah, man, I'm pretty proud of him for getting through that. Like, that was not an easy thing to get through. And so...
I think it's a very good game. Like, I haven't made it through. I've only really played about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I play it. Like, I love smaller games. I like my big games, of course, but I've become like a critic of some sort.
Right.
I'm no fucking definitive voice by any means, but I feel like from where we talked about where we started to now, I feel like I can speak with experience about the things that I enjoy with a critical eye.
Right.
And I see what he was going through with the motivations and the things that he was going for.
Right.
And it's like you try to have a vision for something and like it, you try to make it something, but I suppose, there's always there's like a commercial eye to it too, right?
Yeah, it's gotta, I think a couple of things, if he had slow rolled it a little bit and like had a soft release, there's a lot of things, but you got to do that all on your own, and you kind of only learn that stuff through experience, right? So,
and that's that's his first game, like it's first real. You guys have done smaller app games, but this is his first major release.
Yeah, and I think that it was, I still don't know if that door is closed, but yeah, like if he had a bit more time in the chamber type of thing or whatever, I still think it could be cultivated into something like that. But that's up to him. What the next steps of him, what that's gonna be. But there were really big glimmers of like, okay, this could be pretty fucking cool. Like, yeah, but it's difficult, man, and especially going through that. I'm super proud of him for doing that. God, he I know that he went through a lot trying to get that out. But yeah, he's gonna move on to something else.
Yeah, he says he has at least 3 different ideas in the tank that he's working on.
Yeah.
I wish him well. I tried to pry some ideas at him even off camera. He was quite tight to the chest.
Right. I know, like myself, like whenever I'm trying to work on something new, I don't like revealing what I'm working on because I think it gives me the reward.
Sure, and I get
Before
it.
doing
You're voicing something that isn't even a thing yet.
Right. And so like communicating it with other people, you're getting the gratification because normally people say like, "Oh, that's great. You're working on this." And then
But it's not a thing.
Right. It de-incentivizes your motivation to go through this.
I agree.
I can hear World War III going on upstairs. I may have to cut this.
No, we're an hour and a half in. I actually just allocated an hour for us, but we're a bit past it. I know you're on Western time. I'm on Eastern time, so it's hard to do it. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, man. No, man.
If there's anything else I can add, like we're going to do this again, 100%.
Sure, man.
But if there's any aspiring artists out there that are listening, is there any advice you would give them?
Easiest one is don't give up. That's something everyone always says, but like learn from your mistakes. If you're not having success, figure out why you're not having success and try to actively improve why you're not having success, and try not to blame the system, try not to blame your teachers or your environment. It's up to you. You're going to have to build this yourself. No one is coming to save you. Not to rip off David Goggins, but
yeah,
truthfully, no one's coming to fucking save you, okay? You are going to save yourself, okay? Don't rely on other people. Rely on yourself to get you through this. I know that's sometimes...
It sucks. It seems isolationist, but it is true.
And it's a touchy subject because, not everyone gets that opportunity, and I'm aware of that. But you got to do it. If you have the capability to pull yourself up, pursue that and try to get better, like through yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's the person who's going to, you have to do it
with
yourself.
your art, it's just you, the pad or the medium, and your self-reflection. I mean, that's it. If it's good, or even if you think it's good, you're gonna have to bounce it off somebody eventually, right?
Right. And you have to build that kind of mental muscle of self-critiquing yourself and being aware to like take feedback and where you need to fix things and how to self-improve that. And you have to learn that yourself. And unfortunately, you kind of have to learn the hard way. I don't know of a way.
It's trial by fire shit. Anything creative, anything you want to do in this world is going to be hard. But if you're going to work in the creative field, it's going to be even harder. It's good. We're almost done. Sorry.
Okay.
I get it, buddy. I do 100%. Listen, I thank you for doing this. We're going to talk soon. Great to see you, Greg.
Yeah, great to see you. Great to talk to you. I'm glad we did this. It's awesome.
Okay, let's pause it. I'm going to say goodbye.
Okay, dude.
We'll shoot the shit for like 3 seconds after this, and then we'll go. Okay, later, everybody.